time in the 2020s, two geeks from across social media formed an alliance to bring you geek news from across the Nostalgiaverse. They are Jacob's Toys and SuperSorrell. So strap yourselves in for the weekly live show that brings you toy news, TV and movie reviews, special guests, opinions, tangents, and bad impressions. Reveals, releases, thoughts, and maybe dreams. So prepare yourselves for the Geek Week in Review. Live.
Is up. Hello and welcome to the Geek Week episode 154 with me, Jacob's Toys, and of course the wonderful one and only SuperSorrell. If you're watching live, jump into the comments, join in with the conversation. Give a couple of shout outs to people so far. Emma O'Neill's in the chat, Ezra Gantos, Toddworld, Sean the Sheep, Luna Spring, love that name. Andy Roberts is there. Bethany Beth started with a click. Shelley, Andy Roberts, Jenko T, and of course some other people as well. We will get to you. We are streaming out across multiple platforms, so drop your comments, drop your things in the chat, and we'll do our best to throw them up on the screen or at least acknowledge them, and so that way everyone's kind of involved. If you're watching us on repeat, like a lot of you do, Mr. Sorrell, what is it that I need to put in the chat?
Hashtag catch up crew.
Hashtag catch up crew, of course. Now we're going to do our normal kind of stuff. We have got a theme to tonight's show, so have a little think. Is there a movie or a number of movies that you absolutely enjoyed that just didn't get a sequel, that you thought really deserved one? That is the theme of our show this week, and we are going to get into our top 10 movies that don't have a sequel but you wish that they did. That is what we're going to get onto very shortly. But how's your week been, Sorrel? What's been going on for you?
Good, not a lot to be honest, man. It's been very quiet. Obviously, I'm gearing up for Orlando, so I'm saving every penny possible. I just got my tickets for Orlando's Howlow Scream at SeaWorld, so I'm excited for that. But
awesome.
Yeah, other than that, no, I'm just chilling.
Awesome.
I've
only ever done the Universal one. That's the only one. We've got a little bit of a delay here. I think we got a little bit of a delay, but a little bit of lag. But we'll sort it out. We'll sort it out. Yeah, I've only ever done the Universal one. I've not done any of the other parks when it comes to Halloween nights.
Well, since Blackfish, should we say, SeaWorld have been struggling, and they're basically offering tickets for their Halloween event and a day pass for the park dirt cheap.
Wow.
So you're able to go to the Halloween event, but also spend the afternoon at SeaWorld as well. Because we've never done, since going back and forth, we've never done the Sesame Street land that's there. Kind of never seen that. So,
okay, cool.
Go check that out.
Shelley's back. Shelley's back in Orlando back in November. Nice. It'll be like ships in the night. You'll leave and she'll come. It's
Shelley's a lot like me, but I think Shelley goes for more of the Christmas events. If I remember rightly, I think you said you went to Mickey's Christmas party. I've done that once. I love that party. It was so cool. Free hot chocolate and cookies at the Magic Kingdom.
Amazing. Do you go and collect all the badges, like all the badges that they give out and stuff? Because there's like a whole bunch of like secret badges you can get, isn't there?
Yeah, I've done all that over the year. Over the years, I've done all sorts of things. Like I've even collected. I'm really sad. I've even collected like wet paint signs because they do like fancy ones. So it's not like a regular wet paint sign. And when they're finished with them, they're just literally they'll just hand them out to the public because people want them. And it's like like painting the roses red from Alice in Wonderland. It'll be like that on an art. It's like an art piece in itself that says wet paint on it. It's like that's too good to throw away.
Yeah, they're well too good. I think the last time I went to SeaWorld, thinking about it, was one of the very last killer whale shows. Because I love killer whales. Like orcas are my favorite, and you know, without getting into detail, the blackfish and all that kind of stuff. I used to really enjoy the killer whale show. Like it was a big thing for me as a kid. And when we went out there, it was one of the last kind of runs that they were doing of the actual of the show. So we actually got to catch one of the last ones, and it was quite emotional. Like the way that they did it was quite this is the end of an era. And, rightfully or wrongfully, it definitely was an end of an era. So I was kind of pleased to be able to say that I kind of got to one of the last ones, which was quite cool. But yeah, I'm just having a look. Jenko T said popcorn buckets are the new thing at the moment at the parks. There's a new one each week, not to mention the Deadpool one just announced. Yes, they've unveiled their popcorn bucket, haven't they?
The Henry Hoover.
Henry Hoover style popcorn bucket. The marketing for Deadpool, we were saying during the week, weren't we? The marketing for Deadpool has been next level. And I just think that it's really clever the way that they're giving us all these things to talk about. So no one's talking about the movie.
Yeah.
No one's talking about spoilers, are they? They're all avoiding it, which is really clever. Really, really clever. You had any pickups this week? Anything cool arrived?
I'm no toy stuff. I've been doing a lot of thrifting because I'm not sure if you've noticed that on digital platforms now, movies are disappearing and never coming back. Like old films are vanishing and it's hard to get hold of them now. So I thought before they all disappear, I've started going around charity shops and CXs and things like that and picking up old DVDs and stuff.
Oh no!
And I tell you what though, I've got to say I've finding stuff like Monsters Go Home. Never seen that. Never seen the Monsters Go Home.
Wow.
And they had a Crystal Lake Memories and HMV, and it were 2 for £15. So I got that, and I had to pick up Ghoulies. Yeah.
Oh, mate, that is a throwback.
But yeah, I've got literally a stack of DVDs at the side of me. Even found some oldie ones like Child's Play 3 on DVD. Quite hard to come by.
That cover will forever haunt me because I'm of the age where Child's Play was banned. Like, it was banned. None of the stores were allowed to rent it for a little while. And it was like there was this whole kind of, oh yeah, it's been pulled, it's been banned. But there was a couple of video stores where you could go, and if you knew the person working in there, they would get you the copy. And it was that cover of just Chucky's face just haunted me for years. Absolutely haunted me for years. Ironic, Ollie Bat is in the chat. Oh, that rhymes. And he said, "Hey, SuperSorrell, I like the video on the films that you got." Well, there you go. There are the films that we picked up. I only had one main pickup this week. You can just about there you go. You can see him there. Look, and it's Morbius, my hot toy Morbius. Awesome. It's a really cool. I put it next to Blade. You can just see my little sign there that GLP3D did for me. But yeah, Morbius was one of the things. I also got sent the big Marvel Legends Spider-Man, which for a long time I really, really wanted this. Like for a long, long time. And then I got into Hot Toys and I got this and I was like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah, but that's it. Like a long time ago, that would have felt really cool. Now it feels like a lump of plastic.
It really was. It was. I've got the Thor one, and for a while I had quite a few of them. I had Hulk, I had Thor, Captain America, but I had quite a few of them. And I kept Captain America, I kept Thor, mainly because I just couldn't shift them. And yeah, and someone was on one of the groups of it, and yeah, and I don't know. Back in the day, like you say, I would have thought this was really cool, but compared to Hot Toys, it's just not. It doesn't quite cut it. So you can just stand there next to my D&D collection, which is growing slowly. And I finally I've got two more of the turtles.
Nice.
Raphael in 8-bit and regular. So I only need Donatello now, and then I've completed that little line. But yeah, that was it. That was my pickups really mainly. Andy Roberts said, "Will you be doing a review on Morbius?" That's one I've been looking at for a while. I've done a short form content review, so it's not really a talking and going through it one, but kind of shows you what's in the box and whatnot. To be honest, it was one that I was intrigued by because I thought that the promo pics looked really, really, really good, and the film was like Marmite, wasn't it? But I really enjoyed the film, so I was kind of like, you know what, I kind of want to have Morbius on my shelf, and I just think it's one of them ones that because the film didn't do very well, once it's gone, I feel that it will be gone, sort of thing. Yeah. It'll be very hard to get hold of once it's kind of out of main circulation. I'm sure it'll probably hit a reduction at some point just to help people kind of make up their minds. Andy Roberts said, "Okay, cool, I'll check it out." I haven't posted it yet. So you haven't missed it, Andy Roberts. I'll be posting it over the next couple of days. But the actual figure, as far as the figure goes, it is very, very cool. And I don't know if you can quite see from there, but he comes with this cool little stand that's got these kind of bats that fly around him. So I've got him in kind of a jumping pose, and there's wire in his coat and everything, so you can get all that out. But it's a really nicely made figure. Only one head sculpt, a couple of hands, but yeah, really, really nice figure. So one that I think SuperSorrell would probably like on his shelf with all the horror stuff.
Yeah, probably.
But it's cool, and he goes nicely next to Blade. I needed a vampire for Blade to fight, and I haven't got David yet. David's not been released, so maybe I'll have Blade with like one of the Lost Boys on one side and Morbius on the other side, and just that'll be my vampire shelf.
Well, speaking of Lost Boys, that box set I've got of the House of Thousand Corpses, the old style play set box.
Yeah.
Well, the people over at Trick or Treat Studios have dropped hints that this year's play set and box might be the Lost Boys. No. So yeah, they've announced that they're doing something. They've said it's a summer vampire movie, which that gives Lost Boys away straight away, and it's set on the pier of Santa. Is what is all the put just it's on the pier of Santa. So it's got Santa Monica in it. It's got to be them. It would make sense because then they could do the wrap around for the box. Would be like the fun fair, wouldn't it? And then they've got all the figures in the little compartments. Because there'd be at least 5, wouldn't there? There'd be the 2. You'd get David. I can't remember the names. You've got like 4 of the Lost Boys. Then you've got David and Mike. Is it David and Michael? The two?
Yeah. No, Michael. David's the leader of the Lost Boys. That's Keith Sutherland.
And then you got Michael and his brother. That makes 6. So I can imagine that'd be about right, 5 or 6.
So you got Michael and Sam. You got Star. You got the Frog Brothers, and then of course you've got the Lost Boys.
How could you not walk out here? How could you not get the Frog Brothers? Oh,
you know what? They would get away with doing the Lost Boys and Michael.
Yeah, they would.
Like the others. Oh, mate, that's going to be insane. What kind of quality are the figures?
The 5 POA old school figures, they are based on figures from your childhood, basically. They're based on 80s Kenner style. So they're like 5 POA.
Okay.
They're nice, though. They are, regardless, they're really nice figures. It's like no one else was going to make a House of Thousand Corpses figures that look like that. It was like Necker attempted it and kind of moved away from it very quickly. So like Trick or Treat Studios making the little fancy box with Captain Spaulding's, and I can imagine they'd do it very well for Lost Boys, like with, like I say, like the fun fair wraparound, so you could stand that up and have the figures in front of it.
That's seriously cool news. That really is cool news. Mm-hmm. It would kind of make sense as well because Sideshow, Hot Toys, they've announced that they're doing their David figure. I'd quite like to see a few of the Lost Boys characters. Like, it'd be good to have a David and a Michael next to each other.
I'm honestly surprised Necker have never done a lot more since. But we are in the middle of Summerween, Monsterween, whatever you want to call it. We are in the midst of the summer horror kind of thing. That's kind of a thing now. Yeah. June. So we've just had the Monster Mayhem from Necker. They announced so much in the month of May. Yeah. So now it's time for Trick or Treat Studios as announcements in June.
That'd be awesome. I'm keeping my eyes for that. Talking about announcements as well, Jada Toys showed their next wave of Street Fighter figures. Did you see that?
I saw the Red Chun-Li Target exclusive as well.
They what? Sorry,
I saw the Red Target exclusive Chun-Li.
No. So they've shown off Cammy, Guile, DJ, and
Sagat.
I think that was it. No, I think that was it. But Cammy and Guile look awesome. Awesome. Like Cammy, she's got a lot more articulation than Chung-Li had. That you can get her in like the really high kicks and everything. But yeah, they look really, really cool. Like really cool. But they're just really like paying attention to it. Like they're doing the figures real justice. And I know a lot of our friends out in these states have got their hands on M. Bison and Dalsim already. And I know a lot of people over here have managed to pick them up from Smith's.
Yes, yeah.
But unfortunately, everyone that kind of pre-ordered them from the online retailers are still waiting for those pre-orders to be fulfilled. So Smith's just got them, put them out on the shelves, and just kind of showed up like all the online retailers. Yeah,
that was the same with Ken. Ken appeared very quickly.
Yeah.
So I'd say if you're in the UK, you are safe. I think picking them up at Smith's now.
Yeah, I think for me, for example, when it comes to the Street Fighter figures, yeah, I think my suggestion would be to pick them up in places like Smith's,
Yeah.
just because it makes no sense. Why would you pre-order something that isn't going to come out for months? Like they've been out a few weeks now in Smith's, haven't they?
Yeah, quite a while.
But yeah, hey ho, that's how it is. It's how it is. You got anything good turning up in the next couple of weeks?
I don't really pre-order, do I? So I mean, I don't really have anything on the way. I'm just waiting for things to drop with props and replicas and all those usual places. I know that we've got the Scream Inferno figure due any day now. That's like due out imminently, so I'm waiting for that to drop, and then I can grab one of them. The NECA Saw figure, that's kind of like due imminently as well. Thing is, what's been annoying me is if you pre-order now with NECA, they are the first to ship, which makes sense. Obviously, it's NECA Direct, so but they basically ship direct from factory. So as soon as the figure's made and boxed, they ship them out.
They're done, yeah.
So it's a lot faster.
It's just amazing how kind of far we've come. Like if you think back to kind of 2015, 16, 17, even 2018, like picking up figures from across the pond was really difficult. Like, really difficult. Whereas nowadays you can just literally order direct from NECA and get stuff turning up in your Smiths, which is just madness. Absolutely madness.
Well, I'll tell you what I need to show you, because I know you'll appreciate this. Because I know you're a fan of the Ben Cooper style.
You're gonna make me spend money.
Look at these Funko Pops.
They're very cool.
Ben Cooper Funkos.
They are very cool. You know what? My favorite there is Creature from the Black Lagoon.
I like Creature, and I like the Bride as well. I think Bride looks awesome with the blue coming up.
Bride's very cool. Creature's very good though.
Yeah, cool. You see in the comments, Bethany's just said it's my fault she's ordered them. Yeah, I did them on one of my videos recently because as soon as I saw them, I'm like, yeah, I need to own them.
She said that she's heard there's an exclusive Wolfman coming.
More than likely, I won't put it past them. There's a bunch. There's a wave 2 coming, 100%. There's a wave 2 coming.
I mean, when I think of those monsters, the Witch, the Mummy, the Wolfman, like they're all the ones that kind of come to mind.
Yep. And I tell you what, before we get on to tonight's big chatting point, check out this bad boy. Vecna He-Man.
Is that a Stranger Things crossover?
That is a Stranger Things crossover official. It's a Target exclusive Masters of the Universe Vecna and He-Man 2-pack.
You know what? He makes sense as a He-Man character.
Vecna looks good, man.
He looks like a He-Man character.
I love that he's got a big clock on fire as well.
Clock on a staff. That's a nice He-Man though as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a bit darker. He's a bit darker, isn't he? Like shaded almost. Looks nice.
So his boots and his pants are brown, where they're
yellowy
red. Yeah. But yeah, But I think the only thing that put me off buying that as a He-Man is that his shield is obviously
the devil.
The devil, yeah. And they've not done anything. His power sword looks pretty much like it does, I think, from what I can see. But yeah,
I'm honestly surprised he's not wearing an Eddie jacket. To be honest, I'm really surprised I've not put a leather jacket on him.
Yeah, or at least a Hellfire something. I mean, the Hellfire thing on the shield. Yeah, that's cool though. That is cool. It's a really random one. They are doing some serious random crossovers with He-Man.
I'm loving the Stranger Things ones because they seem to fit. Like a Demogorgon fits in that world as well. Yeah, so it makes sense.
The thing for me with the Turtles ones that they've done recently, they all looked very in universe. They looked very much like characters in the He-Man universe, but they just didn't work for me.
No. The Turtles looked weird and out of proportion, similar to what Hasbro did with the Power Rangers ones. They just looked out of proportion for Turtles. Yeah,
and I mean some of them were good, but then like the most recent one had Michelangelo with a wig.
Yeah, it was He-Man.
What is that even all about? Like, whereas some of them where they were kind of like like mixes of the two characters, I thought that was quite a cool concept where they took like one character from Turtles and one from He-Man and kind of merged them into a single character. I thought, well, that's quite cool. Like you're essentially creating a new character from the two properties. But when you've just got kind of Michelangelo cosplaying as He-Man, I was like, it makes no sense.
But I tell you what, I wish they would just bite the bullet and do Thundercats and do a Thundercats He-Man crossover. You know what I mean? Have a Lion-O that's in portion with He-Man would just be awesome.
I know. I think Jenko T in the chat there is hitting now on the head. I feel He-Man has too many offshoots now. It's too difficult to keep up with the Turtles, Revelations, Origins, etc.
Yeah.
I do agree. For me personally, I've used the Revelations line as a way of kind of, because I like my articulated figures. And so the Revelation line and the 40th anniversary He-Man, the fully articulated version of the 80s version, that's my kind of front and center He-Man. And then using the Revelation figures to kind of put characters in that I wanted around him and stuff. So I've got a bit of a mix up of them all. But yeah, if you were just a Masters collector, there's so many offshoots now, which is, it's feeling a little bit like it's a little bit diluted, which is a shame. Before we do get on, I know that you haven't watched it yet, but fully recommend to anybody watching Chaos Theory, the new Camp Cretaceous spin-off sequel continuation. I don't know where it really falls, but it essentially follows the Nublar 6, and they're all grown up now, or at least a lot more grown up than they are. I mean, put it this way, Ben, the little skinny kid with a bandana that had Bumpy, he's like bigger than all of them. He's like hench and like 7 foot. But it is the best series I've watched, the best Jurassic series I've watched for a very long time. The story is good. It's very well written. The characters are all fantastic. And it's quite cool to kind of see where they all are now. Because obviously Camp Cretaceous took place at the same time as Jurassic World, didn't it? And then we kind of saw them going on, and this takes place very much after Dominion, from what I kind of work out. So they're back on sort of like home ground, and there's dinosaurs and humans kind of coexisting. But it's a very good series, very, very good series. Definitely recommend it as a watch. So 10 episodes, 20 minutes each.
Did you see the announcement for Lord of the Rings this week?
What to do with Power of the Ring?
Yeah, well, they got Power of the Ring, and they're going to introduce Tom Bombadil in the next series, and obviously we're starting to see the rise of the kind of wizard characters.
Yep.
So we'll start seeing Saruman, and we'll start seeing Gandalf, but Tom Bombadil obviously is a fan favorite from the books, so it'll be cool to see him featured more than what we saw last time.
Yep.
Played by Rory Kinnear. From the James Bond films. But one thing that got my attention this week wasn't that, it was the search for Gollum. You see that Viggo Mortensen said he would happily come back.
Yep.
Because they kind of pitched that it could be told from the Ranger's point of view he's still on the run before he accepts his fate kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that would be cool. And they said that they could explain why he's in the bar on that night that Frodo's there, and so they could explain a bit more in depth from the book, which would be cool. It'd be cool to see Viggo Mortensen back on the screen as Aragorn.
Yeah, definitely.
I couldn't imagine anyone else playing his role. That's the thing. If they recast it, I'd be like,
Yeah. But then with that said, like the new Planet of the Apes film, what is it? War for... No, not War for Planet
I have
of
no idea. The new Planet of the Apes film, that's enough.
What it's called? I don't know, but the new one, obviously, Andy Serkis isn't in it. It's not got Caesar in it, but it really holds up on its own, like as a continuation. I think, personally.
Oh yeah, to be fair, they always would do, wouldn't they? Because as long as you have monkeys killing one another, it's fine.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Thank you very much, Jenko T, rescuing me with the forgetting the title there. But yeah, Kingdom. But
I just keep seeing the thing on TikTok of the monkey going, "Oh no!" That haunts me now. It's everywhere.
Yeah, so I'm just making sure I got my list ready. No, it's a good film. So of course we are theming our episodes. We're theming each episode. Last week we did cameos. We kind of rushed through them a little bit. This week we're going to do our top 10 movies that don't have a sequel that you wish that they did. Now, when you put your list together, did you have any kind of guidelines as to how you were doing this, like a particular era, particular genre, or
Yeah.
there was no rules? Okay.
No. It's like I've got one on my list, which technically, the film in itself is technically a sequel, but I don't count it as one.
That's okay, because I've
It's
got
an
one on
offshoot
my
of a
list.
franchise.
Well, I've got one on my list that had a sequel, but I think deserved another sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like I won't give away which one it is, but for argument's sake, imagine that you had Captain America and they didn't make any more sequels, but it's a part of the Avengers thing. Technically, they're all sequels of each other, but that one deserved another one. So I've done that with another franchise, if that makes sense.
Okay, cool. Speaking of Captain America, before we do move on, did you see who has been cast in the MCU in Captain America: New Brave World? Brave New World?
No.
Moff Gideon. I can never pronounce his real name, but the actor.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Say again.
Giancarlo Esposito.
That's it. Yeah. So he is in a. I don't think they've disclosed his role yet, but there has been a picture of him on set, and he's got like knives on his chest. And I couldn't place who he was. Like I couldn't figure out who he was. But there's a handful of theories floating around and that. But he is in Captain America: Brave New World. I think that is going to be a turning point for the MCU. I think it's going to be a good one.
He's a great actor. He is a great actor.
Well, it's got, if you think about that film now, it's got obviously the continuation of Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson. They're introducing the new Falcon. They've got Harrison Ford taking over the role of Thunderbolt Ross. It's obviously going to lead on to the Thunderbolts sequel. You've now got Moff Gideon. I'm still not going to attempt to say his name. But you've got Moff Gideon in there. So there's some real talent in that film. So I think it's going to be a really good one. Okay. So top 10 movies that don't have a sequel that you wish that they did. Yeah. Would you like to start, or would you like me to start?
I'll go first.
Go on, Em.
Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, well played. Well,
I can't believe that never got any. I know kind of they call it the Cornetto trilogy or whatever, but I'm really surprised that never had like a proper offshoot like sequel or something in that universe.
It was based on a comic book, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was there? Do you know if there was much in the comic book?
I have no idea.
No. See, I never. It wasn't a comic that I had ever read.
I would just love for it to happen again or something, and them just to carry on, or something. You know what I mean? Like do a film about life afterwards, where you've got him in shed as a zombie, and some of them break free and bite people, and you know what I mean? There's another story there easily.
I just think Simon Pegg could just he could bring that role back. And Nick Frost as well, like the pair of them. Yeah. Like I think that they could really, there's a script there. I think it's potentially one that would happen if they were both, I don't want to say short for work, but had some free time on their hands. They'd kind of go, I bet there's probably even a script written. I reckon they probably put a script together, but it's never come to fruition. But that film in itself is. Have you ever watched the side by side of the opening bit where he walks to the shop and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the side by side comparison of the one at the beginning where it's all kind of normal, and then the one where there's the zombie attack, and it's identical, but it's just the little things like a certain character that's doing something here, and then you see like hand marks, or it's just really, really well done. There's loads of videos out there, but look it up and see.
And the fact that like the kid who kicks the football out and goes, "Hey, you're dead."
Yeah,
like that. It's like there's little nods to everything, isn't there?
Yeah, it's a really, really good one. Okay, so my one, I'm going to go with 2007's Will Smith, I Am Legend.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That was rumored to get a sequel for a while, wasn't it?
There was supposedly I Am Legend 2 in the mix, but then they didn't do it. Yeah, they just didn't do it. I think the problem is, and it's 2007, so it's not really a spoiler, but with the character's fate at the end of the film, it would have to be a prequel kind of sequel. But I think they could easily do a sequel with somebody else in the universe, like somebody else that was there, or I just think that there was something very cool about that film.
Yeah, they changed a lot from the original source material, because in the original thing they were like vampires, not zombies.
Yeah.
They changed a lot of the source material, but it was because I think the ending was even different to the book as well.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
they changed that.
but no, yeah, I know what you mean. Like something within that universe would be ace.
I just remember as well that. Do you remember the Batman versus Superman
Superman
logo?
poster.
Yeah, and everyone went mental because it was the Henry Cavill
Yeah.
Superman, wasn't it? Bethany Beth said, "Oh my God, not seen it. Thanks for spoiling." Bethany, it was 2007, right? If you haven't seen it, you're not watching it. Let's be honest. But no, it's a really good film. It's a really good film, and I just remember I like it when something comes along and is in the genre of something that we're familiar with, but does something different.
Yeah,
And I think that they did that.
That's why I liked the Army of the Dead movie.
Yeah,
Because that was like it wasn't your standard zombie flick. I kind of like that.
No. Go on in. What's next?
Small Soldiers.
There we go.
How did that never get a sequel?
Bethany as well. Defo one is Small Soldiers.
Yep.
Yeah, I think she was dropping comments all the way through tonight saying about Small Soldiers. I'm sure she did. They're gonna Archer, leader of the Gorgonites. No, I don't
necessarily mean set in the same bit. Just and because like they're not the only store that got shipped them Gorgonites and things. They were shipped all over the world. So there was a cool story that could have been told there that they did, that they focused on the one town, but if those things got shipped by Heartland Play Systems all over the world,
yeah,
and they all come alive and start fighting each other, there's a really cool concept for a movie there where these toys are just literally all over the place fighting.
Yeah, I think as well.
Imagine like a version of Archer that's like war torn, and he's trying to locate the other Gorgonites. They're all lost, scattered, and he's like proper like a assassin-y kind of version of himself. Not the version we saw, but like he's battle ready kind of Archer.
Yeah. Or even just coming like crossing over with himself from another store, like, and one's really road worn and has seen some things, and then one's like fresh out the box. But I think that there's potential there as well. That kind of the people that watch that as kids, we're now grown up, so there's even potential for them to do a darker sequel that's more aimed at our generation. So the people that saw it as kids, and then something a little bit darker.
Yeah. Even if they made a whole boatload, I mean, there was that concept trailer a while back that came out, which was like it was like a new version of it for modern audience, and even something like that where it's a new bunch of toys. They don't have to be Archer and Chip; it could be a completely new line of toys. With the whole joke of we won't make that mistake again, and of course they make the same mistake again, and they come alive. There could be so many cool stuff they could do.
It was just like child's play for kids, wasn't it? Really, it was child's play for kids. That's what it was. Okay, so my next one, I'm trying to see if I've got one that's similar. 2012 Dread.
Yeah,
Carl Urban Dread was fantastic. It was for comic book fans. It was perfect. I just thought it was absolutely spot on. But it didn't go down very well with critics, did it?
No,
didn't go down very well with critics. So it's, I don't know. I just feel that it's a missed opportunity. I think, especially where we're living in the kind of superhero genre time, they could have done some good sequels. And the 2000 AD universe is so big.
Yeah,
with so many different characters, they really could have gone off on a bit of a tangent, and that's one thing that I thought the Stallone one did do well, is they did kind of introduce us to quite a few characters. But so Dread. Carl Urban as well. He's big at the moment. What with the boys and everything, like he's with Thor, he's a household name. Get me another Dread.
Every time
hit the nail on the head. Judge Death would have been, if we could have seen a Judge Death, like reading the comic books as a kid, it was Mean Machine and Judge Death that just got me.
Wasn't Judge Death just a xenomorph Judge Dredd though?
Yeah, pretty much.
Very rightly, it was like a xenomorph style creature, wasn't it?
It was.
Either way, it was badass. I remember playing. I had the game on GameCube. This is how old that is. I had the game on GameCube, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I used to love Judge Dredd. I think I need a hot toy Judge Dredd. Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
I'm sorry, but every time I hear the name Judge Dredd or someone says it in my head, I instinctively just go, "I am the law."
I'm the law in the Stallone voice.
I am the law.
You know what? I didn't even think his version was that bad.
No, it would. It's comical. It's great.
I liked it. But yeah, there we go. So yeah, Dredd.
My next one is Cabin in the Woods.
Oh, good shout.
I think there was a story there to be told about the world.
Yeah.
About why they were under there, what they were doing. It gives you little sneaky bits. But I mean, how cool would it be to see like a proper film just based from their perspective and why they're doing it? And
yeah, it was a very good, because I remember, I think we've spoken about this before, but I remember going into the cinema thinking I was seeing one thing and coming out going, that was not what I expected at all. But that was amazing. That was incredible. But yeah, even if they just kind of explored a little bit more about the different like monsters and stuff, some of them we only saw it as like a real snippet. Well, a couple of them we only saw on the board, didn't we? That we didn't even see them in the movie. Yeah, so there was definitely potential to have more there. Oh yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout. Yeah, when did that come out? Do you remember?
2004-ish. Oh no, 2011. A lot older than I thought.
Is it Chris Hemsworth?
It's Chris Hemsworth. It's Hemsworth. Is it Hemsworth? Yeah, Chris Hemsworth, Christina Connolly, Anna Hutchinson.
Is Hemsworth the one that jumps on the bike and like
Hemsworth's the pretty boy in it, and he's the jock.
And then he hits the wall and just dies. Yeah. That's it.
We've got Sigourney Weaver in that film as well.
Is she?
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver's the director in it.
So she is, yes. Yeah. Whenever I just think about the guys in the office with the.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Gambling.
Okay, so in a similar time, so 2012, this one, Chronicle. Did you ever watch Chronicle?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. I just thought again it was really cool to see
the one about the kids with powers, isn't it? That one.
Yeah. And the geezer who plays Green Goblin in the Andrew Garfield films, he's like the one that goes a little bit off the rails. But yeah, I just thought it was a very cool concept, and I don't know. These guys were still there. It was kind of like, what happens next? You know, where does this go? And I think that in my head, I think that there was an opportunity to, because they're all kids, really.
Yeah.
There was an opportunity to explore them a bit more mature. So when they've maybe settled down or they've got kids of their own or stuff like that, and just sort of where do these powers and this kind of situation, where does that take them in their next stage of life? That sounds really middle-aged of me to say, but yeah, I just wanted to see a film about superheroes dealing with the day-to-day struggles of being a dad. But yeah, that'd be mine. So Chronicle is mine. Not much to say about that. But if you haven't seen Chronicle, but yeah, Jengo T said, I feel that we would have got a sequel to Chronicle if its director Josh Trank hadn't had such issues with Fantastic Four. Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. But yeah.
My next one.
Go on.
Constantine.
Keanu Reeves,
Constantine.
I heard a rumor that this was happening.
Supposedly. There's never been anything that's ever come to fruition. So until it does, it's officially still a non-sequel movie. But I just think, I always thought that was a great movie. I can't believe it's taken all these years for him to even contemplate it. It was such a good movie.
It was a good film. I think apart from his look, they hit everything else on the head for me. Like, I was really happy with everything. I was quite enjoying it. But obviously, he didn't look how he looked in the comic books.
Yeah. There's always that thing, though, in there, of transforming something from comic to live action and taking artistic liberties. But no, I thought, because it came out in that era of films like Underworld and Van Helsing, and it came out that kind of era, as it kind of fit into that. It was a demonic action hero movie that was a popcorn movie, but it wasn't horror. It fit in that same sort of category as like Van Helsing and Underworld to me.
Yeah. Was this post Matrix.
Yes, post Matrix.
It was, wasn't it? It was one of the films, one of the few films that Keanu Reeves did post Matrix, where he was kind of trying to get away from that Neo image, wasn't it? And everything was just kind of, well, it's Neo. It's Neo in a vampire film. It's Neo in a this film. You know what I mean? It's like so.
So Constantine came out in 2005.
Oh wow! Wow.
Matrix
Revolutions.
Matrix Revolutions was 2003.
Yeah.
So it was 3 years after Matrix.
Yeah.
2 years after Matrix.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, that's cool. I'm up for that. Okay, I'm getting into my. Now I've just got to decide where I'm going with these. Gremlins.
Ooh.
So yes, technically Gremlins from '84 had a sequel in the new batch in 1990, but I feel that it should have been a trilogy.
Mm.
I don't feel that the story was fully told. You know, it was kind of like we had Gremlins, we then had Gremlins New Batch where it was bigger, but then that was it. And
I'm honestly surprised we've not had a film called Return of the Gremlins, or you know what I mean? Like, it could so easily do that title at this point.
But I just think it would be very easy as well to have one of the like Mogwai type characters go somewhere else. Like it wouldn't have to be around the same town, around the same family, anything like that. They could have shown somebody else coming into the shop and buying one at the same time, or one escaping into the wild or something like that, you know. So I just think that there was a lot to tell with Gremlins, and I just don't feel they fully told it.
No, I think as well, what could be really cool is a prequel to the Gremlins set back in, was it China or Japan, where they supposedly came from, and like set back on, you know, back in time when Chinese, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
but like back in China or something, with the guy who owned them, like him as a boy or something, and how he found them or something.
Yeah. There was definitely more to it. I just really thought it was as a kid, it was one of those concepts that really kind of stuck with me. That these monsters kind of come from something nice because you don't follow the rules.
I used to have the little Magwai that went like rock from side to side by Necker. And my old dog tore it to bits because he thought he was terrified of it. I had a Laparazzo and he thought he was terrified of that thing. As soon as it went off, he went and like ran it to death.
I just think as well, because it was late 80s, early 90s, we're very much we're seeing a lot of things kind of come back and get sequels and, you know, be reborn and all that kind of stuff. And I just feel that Gremlins, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Gremlins follow up soon.
Cool.
But I'll be happy with it. I would not be mad as long as it was done well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Gremlins.
Imagine what they could do with modern technology as well with that film now.
See,
I'd still want it to be puppets. I'd still want it to be puppets, but I mean, imagine what they could do, because like they started to use a little bit more CGI and things in the second movie.
Yeah.
A lot more tech, like computer stuff. But I mean, imagine what they could do now with the puppeteering stuff we have now.
Yeah, well, you just got to look at like the Jurassic Park films. You know, like I think use the puppets, but use the CGI element as showing how they get from one place to another, instead of us just seeing a head like running along the street. You know how they used to do it in back in the day, or like little puppet feet or whatever. Like actually seeing them kind of climb up trees, and because that's the kind of thing that we didn't see. We didn't really see them move as Gremlins. Did we? We just saw them kind of head and shoulders as such.
But if you look at what they did with like Baby, because obviously it would be like Lucasfilm or someone like that doing it, or Henson. Look at things like Baby Yoda and the Five Nights at Freddy's movies and the physical props that we can make now. Imagine a Gizmo looking like that.
Yeah, be fantastic.
Mm.
I think there's a lot of potential there. So yeah, Gremlins, or Gremlins New Batch, if you want to be technically correct, needs a sequel.
Cool. E.T.
Ooh.
I can't believe E.T. never got a sequel. I'd love to see E.T. not necessarily come back to Earth, but maybe come back and pick up Elliot and take Elliot to his world. Like have a film set on E.T.'s planet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bizarre one, isn't it? Because at the time as well, the year it came out, it was more popular than Star Wars. And it was the highest grossing film of the year. And I think it's also, I think it tops lists as well as movies that why didn't it get a sequel kind of thing. And I don't know whether it was more that Star Wars just kind of overtook and the kind of space side. Because the thing is, once Star Wars gained popularity, anything
Yeah.
else space orientated was seen as an attempt to take the top spot or an attempt to ripping it off. And I think
Yeah.
a sequel of ET would have came out in the middle of that Star Wars trilogy kind of time.
But if you've
So,
been to obviously you've been to Universal and you've seen the ride.
yeah.
Look what they did with that ride, with the whole, the section where you go to his planet and stuff. Imagine a film based on that with all them
Well,
weird, wacky animatronics.
it was all there.
Yeah,
Like they
it was
had
all
it all,
there.
and all the different creatures and stuff that and there's all the kind of the explanation of the different creatures, isn't there, or the different species as such. And the bit where you come out at the end and ET raps like 15 names at once. Blah, 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 blah. It's just, but yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. It didn't make my list because I thought it was too obvious. For me, I was kind of like, oh, I'm going to put it on there, but then I was like, no, I think Sorrell will pick it, so I'm not going to put it on there. But I totally agree.
I used to always laugh at the fact that how American ET was when he said my name. That's what used to make me laugh. Thank you for saving me, Ashley. You're not a college student behind there trying to do an ET voice, are you?
How they do it? Is there somebody with a voice?
I'm guessing so. How else would they rattle off so many names? I mean,
I always thought it was computer generated because you had to like put your name down, and
it's just funny how it comes out really American. Thank you
Yeah.
for saving me, John James.
Yeah, it's just even that, like the ride still holds up. Like still holds up.
I'm going to see if I can make him say SuperSorrell on my next thing that I've got a new intro.
Oh,
Thank you for saving me, SuperSorrell.
That would be amazing. You got to film it. That'd be amazing. All right, so in a similar vein to ET, I'm going to say the Goonies.
Woo.
Yeah, the Goonies. 1985, the Goonies came out. So technically, next year is the 40th anniversary of the Goonies.
The Goonies reunited. That'd be an awesome movie.
And you look at the popularity of some of the actors in them films, like Josh Brolin.
Yeah, Roland.
He's obviously a big name now after Thanos and Cable and stuff. You got Sean Astin, Lord of the Rings, Stranger Things. You've got I can never say his name.
Corey Feldman.
No, Corey Feldman, obviously. Yep. But no,
Just
I'm
going.
thinking of
Yuan Kwan.
That's it. Yeah. He's obviously massive at the moment, following Loki and all the rest of it. And what was the other film? What was the weird film that he was in where he played the dad and it won all the awards?
You know about is it Parasite or something?
No. It was the sci-fi type film. There's something, everything, everywhere. That one.
Oh, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
That's it. Yeah. But no, I just think that a Goonies film, like a Goonies follow-up, would just be. Again, I'm surprised there wasn't one made at the time. I'm shocked that it wasn't something that was kind of greenlit. But I think nowadays we do live in that era of kind of 2-3 film deals, whereas back then it was just we make a film and we put it out there and see how it does. But yeah, the Goonies for me.
Cool. So mine's that going a bit mental now. So Hook.
Oh, okay.
That film's I know it's iconic and nobody wants to touch it, especially now of all times. But I mean, back in the day when they made that film, they made so much. And the fact that there's a super cut out there somewhere that's like 4.5 hours long or something. They clearly had more ideas and stories to tell.
I'm surprised that they didn't do a spin-off with like the Lost Boys and Rufio.
Turned to Neverland or something. Yeah,
that should have been like, it was so popular. Like even now, like he gets like Rufio. It's like, I'm surprised that wasn't something that was greenlit at the time. That even if they did it in a prequel type to sort of show what had been going on Neverland and stuff, like that would have been very cool.
Yeah, I think the return of Hook or something, or because Dustin Hoffman's Hook for me is iconic. That is just so iconic, that role.
That when I think of Hook, that's who I think of. That's
Yeah,
what I
exactly.
see.
Even Smee as well. What do you call him? A Smee. He was
Oh,
such a good Bob Hoskins as Smee was amazing.
yeah,
It's like the
yeah.
book came to life.
Yeah, it was, and Robin Williams. Like I know, obvious goes without saying, but his Peter Pan was incredible. Like the whole, everybody in that film understood the assignment. Like you know, what I mean, like 100% understood the assignment. Yeah, it was a beautiful film, and I think now for them to do a sequel, it would be a little bit.
Yeah, it'd be hard now.
But I mean, they you know what? Actually,
I could do an entire episode talking about Hook, but that scene for me still gets me every time where they're at the dinner table and there's nothing there, and then all of a sudden he sees they starts playing along.
Yep.
That is so deep. I love that scene.
I'll tell you what, as well, I watched it maybe in the last 2 or 3 years. No, about maybe 4 or 5 years. Like, I rewatched it, and it hits differently when you're a dad. Like, when I watched it as a kid, I was like, "This is cool. Like, I want to be a lost boy." Like, when you're a dad and you watch it, and you're like, "Wow." Like, probably not so much me because I play with toys anyway, but it hits differently. But here's my concept. It's literally just come to my head, right? So we redo the story of Hook, like what it is, like what they did in Hook, but with Rufio as the main character. So he's now grown up and forgotten, and so it's almost the same concept that he needs to go back and rescue the lost boys, because he's now a lot older. He's more the age of Robin Williams when Robin Williams played Peter Pan. So you have a similar kind of story, but this time with Rufio having to go back and remember how to do it all, and then he becomes Rufio again. That would work.
Yeah. Shame he's dead though.
Rufio's not.
Rufio died in the movie. He got stabbed by Hook.
Oh shit! Yeah.
He gets murdered by Hook because that's the thing that makes it very dark. Hook actually kills a child.
Wow, I wiped that out of my memory. Like whoa.
There's that scene where he goes, "Looky, I got Hooky," and then he goes, and he literally stabs him in the chest. Like he has that menacing look on his face as he does it. It's so dark.
Wow.
He stabs a child in the chest.
You know when you kind of completely wipe something from your head, and I even watched it a few years ago. That part just doesn't. I think I must zone out on that part. I mean, it must have traumatized me as a kid, and now
it's because we all wanted to be Rufio. We all wanted red hair and leather jackets.
Yeah, there was something about Rufio. Wow. Yeah. I okay. Maybe not. Maybe that. I see. I'm thinking more about the actor because he does so many appearances.
Yeah.
Like
he is. Yeah, he lives that movie, doesn't he? He eats, sleep, breathes it.
Okay. Next one for me. Conan the Barbarian.
Ooh.
Did have a sequel. Had Conan the Destroyer. So Conan the Barbarian came out in 82.
Oh, you're Arnold's version. Okay.
Yeah. Arnold's.
I thought you were going to say Thingy's version.
No. Hear me out here, right? Barbarian came out in 82. Destroyer came out in 85. A good 10 years ago, I think it was, somebody started throwing concept art around of Arnold all grayed up called King Conan. And it would be like the third in the trilogy. And I was hyped, like seriously hyped to see Arnold return as Conan the Barbarian, but as an aged, graying Conan, where he's now kind of king or something. And I just think that's a movie that needs to happen before Arnold's too old. It was just one of those films as a kid. I just wanted to be a barbarian for a good sort of 6 weeks. Like, yeah. And I just remember really enjoying like Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer. It was one of those, that 80s kind of muscle film where it was just like, it didn't really make any sense. The acting wasn't brilliant, but it had swords and like, muscles and stuff. So yeah. But
let's not forget he had the coolest lines in like cinema history.
Yeah, he had some very cool lines in that.
Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of the women.
But you imagine him as like a King Conan now, and kind of almost like he's brought back the Terminator, for God's sake. Like, I know the Terminator is like an iconic character for him, but so was Conan back in the day. Like, Conan was one of the early ones, and just to have him kind of round that trilogy off, because it would also make you go back and watch, and then you sort of see this journey of this Conan character right up to King, and something happens and he has to pick up the sword and all the rest of it. But Google King Conan and you'll see the concept art. It's literally just his face with like grey beard and like a helmet or something. It just says King Conan.
Super 7 did based a figure on it, didn't they? Super 7 made the King Conan figure where he's got like a big gold like bench thing that he sat on or whatever.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they made it and all the concept art came out with Arnold, they made the Arnold, because they obviously had the grey Arnold head from the Terminator. So they just basically put some long hair on it and stuck that on its head. And it worked and it did look good.
It would be a good film. Film.
It would, because then it could lead into a new trilogy of films with, Son of Conan, or, you know what I mean? They could introduce the prince, wherever are they, the next barbarian king.
Conan versus Godzilla or whatever the next one is. Godzilla versus Conan versus Kong, like just they're a friend now. Yeah, but King Conan for me. What we got? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I've got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 left.
4 more. Yeah. No, I got
all right, here's a random one. I'm not sure if you've ever seen this film, but do you remember a film by Disney called The Great Mouse Detective?
Yes, Basil, the Great Mouse Detective.
We were lucky because ours was called The Great Mouse Detective, but obviously in America it's called Basil of Baker Street.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Great Mouse Detective. That was such a good movie with Vincent Price as the villain and stuff, and as King Ratty or whatever he was called. That villain was so good.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised there was never any further adventures because it was basically Sherlock Holmes as Mouse.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised that didn't continue with something else. Like how they didn't continue that story.
Or even as like you think like Aladdin got a TV show.
Yeah.
Like all those kind of things. You really could have done something with Basil the Great Mouse Detective. Yeah, no, I'm on board with that. It terrorized me as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
One of the films that absolutely terrorized me as a kid, because I loved the film, absolutely loved the film. And then this shows my age here, but when we were younger, you would get storybooks with cassette tapes.
Yeah,
that had like a watered down, condensed version of the story that you could put on a cassette player and listen to when you went to bed. Because I love this film, I think my mum or my grandma or someone like that bought me this audio book essentially, and there was a part in it where there was the character with the peg leg.
Yeah,
and they, even now it's putting shivers down my spine, but they described this character coming down the alley, and then of course the sound effects department was like, yeah, I can do that, like, and the noise in my head, like it wasn't even anything about the character. It wasn't even about the fact that he was a bad guy or anything. It was just the sound effect that they used of this clip clopping down it scared the life out of me. Scared, and it always got to a point in the story where I was kind of close to sleep.
yeah,
and the lights were out, and I just had no. But yeah, I agree, mate. That's a really good shout. Really good shout. Maybe with Disney Plus nowadays, maybe they will bring something in. That'd be
imagine
cool.
if they made one for the audience that grew up with it. So imagine let's say with Disney Plus they can get away with more mature things. Imagine going back and visiting that now and having Basil on Whitechapel or something like that, and have a Jack the Ripper mouse. Or something. It would be same time era. That would be awesome to do.
Ooh, can we see Disney touching that?
Yeah, they've done worse.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
We had the lion in the Lion King. We had hyenas doing the friggin' Nazi walk. So I mean,
yeah, okay, fair play. Okay, cool. So my number 4, another Arnold film. Ooh. 1987, The Running Man.
Oh yeah,
you ever seen it?
Yeah.
Amazing film. One of my favorite Arnold films. I haven't seen it for years, for years and years. But as a kid, one of my favorite films. Probably really inappropriate for me as a kid, but it was just really cool. And I just thought that again, there was such a concept there. And you think about when people ask me about it, I basically say, "Go on." I just talk to myself. He's gone away. But yeah, I basically say that it's like Takeshi's Castle meets Hunger Games. And I just think with the popularity of Hunger Games and how many kind of sequels it had and books and spin-offs and all that kind of stuff, the concept was there for something really cool. And obviously it was the 80s, it was late 80s, so it wasn't as high tech as it would be now. And I just think something, you think about things like Squid Games and you think about things like Saw and all that kind of stuff. Like I think The Running Man would make for a really good film franchise nowadays. Yeah. I think it was 1987. I think it was 1987. I'm gonna have to look that up now. But it was just the jumpsuit as well. The jumpsuit that he had to wear was just awesome. The sort of silvery gold kind of jumpsuit that he had to wear. Yeah.
But yeah, Running Man is such a good movie. I grew up on a diet of Arnold movies and stuff as a kid and Stallone movies. Yeah, as you say, it's highly inappropriate movie for our, for watching at a young age. But
it's like the guy on the motorbike chasing him with a chainsaw. Like that is not appropriate for a kid. Do you know what I mean? That is not. It was on the movie poster, so it's not like it was even a, like a surprising thing that came up in the film. It's a Stephen King book, though, isn't it?
Is it? Okay.
I think it's Stephen King.
Might be.
I think it's Stephen King or someone like that. I'm sure.
Yeah, based on the novel by Stephen King, The Running Man.
It is, right?
Yeah, it was Stephen King, but published under his pseudonym name of Richard Bachman.
Right. Okay.
He didn't release it under Stephen King. He released it under his alternate name.
Yeah. So it's when he's like his pen name, wasn't it?
But yeah, them dystopian future style movies, like obviously because it's like in modern times now we've got films like The Purge, and you can almost feel like The Purge is where it starts and then Running Man's where it finishes. You know what I mean? Like it gets to that level.
Yeah.
Where they're already killing one another, they may as well film it and put it on TV.
Well, I just said, like, looking when you were away, I just said that you look at films like Hunger Games, you look at things like Saw, you look at things like Squid Game, like you've got the making there of essentially The Running Man and like you say, The Purge. I just think that having a sequel now, maybe it wouldn't be a direct sequel, but a kind of reimagining trilogy or something. I just think it'd be really good. And you make it probably a little bit closer to the book because obviously Stephen King's pretty damn good at writing. So you make it a bit closer to the book. I think that there's a real thing there. You could have Arnold doing a little cameo, like, not as his character, but just, there he is. There's Arnold. So, but yeah, The Running Man. That's my one. So top three.
My top three. Okay, my third, Galaxy Quest. Tim Allen's Galaxy Quest.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It would be a little bit harder now, obviously, with the passing of Alan Rickman. Yeah, but that was one of them films when it came out. There was just, I don't know, it felt like a love story to Star Trek, and it was very much like a fanboy movie.
Okay,
and I'm honestly surprised that they never revisited it in some form or another.
Yeah.
Or even like, because obviously with things like Orville, things like that, I'm surprised that Tim Allen never tried to ask them to do like a TV series based on the actual Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver could be in it and everything, and you know what I mean? That would be good.
That would be very good.
They could even cross over with something like the Orville, you know what I mean? Imagine a crossover episode with Seth MacFarlane being in there on their ship and stuff like that. There's so many opportunities.
A cameo and a... Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Yeah, I'll get behind that. I don't remember seeing that a lot. I remember I have seen it, but I didn't watch it lots. If that makes sense.
So you don't remember the weird termite people and how they spoke?
No.
We need your help.
Oh yeah. You got me. Yeah, you got me. Okay, so my number 3 is a sham. to be honest.
Okay.
Total sham, because I based my number 3 on one of my favorite films as a kid. And then literally just as we went live, I did a quick Google while we were online just to check dates and stuff. And it turns out that this film didn't only have a sequel, it had a third sequel and it had a TV show. So all of which I completely missed. But for me, I was going to say Beastmaster.
Oh, okay.
Beastmaster. So I don't know if you ever saw it. It was like a proper old school film. It came out in like 1982, 1981, something like that. Did you see it? Have you seen it?
I know of it, but I've never seen it.
Yeah, it was one of these kind of Viking-esque kind of kings and queens, castles and dragons and all that kind of, what would you call them? Like
Fantasy movies.
Fantasy, yeah. And basically there was this He-Man-esque, Conan-esque kind of character that kind of controlled beasts, but he only had like 3 or 4. He had like an eagle and a panther, I think it was, and then like 2 ferrets that kind of listened. Like, so he wasn't really the beast master. He just kind of like had a couple of pets that were very well behaved. But it was a cool film. But it turns out that there was a sequel made almost 10 years later in the early 90s, called Beastmaster 2, Through the Portal, where he comes to kind of modern day. And then there was another sequel in 1996 called Beastmaster 3, The Eye of Braxus, which I have no idea about. And then it turns out that they also filmed a whole TV show around it. So I was going to say Beastmaster, but I think just for a complete wild card, I'm going to say Howard the Duck.
Oh, nice.
I'd like Howard the Duck to have had a sequel because I quite enjoyed that as a kid. It was an awful film and highly inappropriate, and it was George Lucas, wasn't it, that did it?
It was. But it was one of the things that was shown to you as a kid. It wasn't like it was hidden away or anything. That was like everyone saw the fancy little duck and were like, "Oh, you can watch this. It's my cute little duck."
Yeah.
No parent watched that film to make sure it was appropriate first.
No, none at all. None at
Just
all. But I'd like it to have a sequel, only based on the fact that we've seen Howard the Duck now played by Seth Green in the MCU. And I think that they could do a sequel to Howard the Duck, but with the new Howard the Duck. And so it wouldn't necessarily have to be a direct sequel, but he could reference things from the first film to show that it was the same character or in the vein of the same character. But yeah, before we go on to our top 2, Shelley has said, Master of the Universe, why was there no sequel? And Bethany said, it's coming in 2025, Shelley, I think. Master of the Universe, it isn't a direct sequel. 2025, there is a new Masters of the Universe film that's supposed to be more comic book accurate, but I've seen the synopsis of the film and it's not comic book accurate. It basically sounds like they're going to make the same mistakes they made with the first one. But yeah, Master of the Universe, I agree they should have made a sequel, but I just don't think it was very well received at the time, was it? So yeah. Right, top 2. I think I've guessed top 1 now. I think I've guessed it.
My next one is, like I say, this is the one that I said was a part of a franchise, but it's technically a sequel in its own right, but I think this deserved more than what it got. Freddy vs. Jason.
Nice. Good
because
shout.
of the hype of the first film. And I rewatched it the other day. And they spend almost the entire movie building up the premise and then give us about 5 minutes of them fighting.
Yeah.
I think there was room there for a second movie, and they could have called it Freddy vs. Jason Round 2 or something cheesy.
Yeah.
Just to get them to do a bit more like the first film. The first half of the film could have been a film on itself where it's Jason on Elm Street, and then the second film should have been Freddy taking Jason back to Camp Crystal Lake. They could have been on each other's home turf first. I think that would have been a lot better.
Yeah. I think that it would have worked quite well if... How would it work? But basically, if Freddy was kind of dropped into Crystal Lake, but, you know, and had to kind of survive being there because it was his, you know, like they're saying about their territory and stuff. And then somehow Jason was in the dream world and had to survive that. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's the same as like the Alien versus Predator films. Like there was such hype for them that it's
But they even did like a big night weigh-in, like fight weigh-in and everything for Freddy versus Jason. Did you see any of that stuff? Like they did like a proper Las Vegas weigh-in, like a boxing match and stuff like that. The marketing around it was massive.
Oh, it's huge, absolutely huge. Yeah, it was. I'm gonna rewatch it. Maybe we should do like a Freddy versus Jason, or maybe in a future episode we should do a versus episode where we talk about Alien versus Predator, Freddy versus Jason, Kong versus Godzilla, like all these films.
How cool would it have been to have a sequel of them two fighting and nobody, because like nobody can win, neither of them can win. That's the whole point of the film. Yeah. But imagine at the end of the film, like they suddenly stop fighting and you hear the and they just see the sign that says Haddonfield, and the boat. It looked like Freddy just turns and goes, "We're in Haddonfield, bitch."
Yeah.
Like, and then you just know where it's going to go next. And it just ends. That'd be such an Easter egg. Like imagine the hype that would get.
Yeah,
Freddy versus Jason versus Michael.
That would have been very cool.
Because they already messed about with like across the movies, Freddy and Jason and Michael, and there's little Easter eggs and cameos all over the place referencing one another.
Yeah,
one thing they loved doing was putting little Easter eggs, and even Chucky did it a number of times. So yeah, it would be cool.
Or even if they did a movie where the main kind of protagonist was somehow being chased by all of them, like in their own respect, and then they're kind of fighting with each other over getting the person. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're kind of fighting with themselves, fighting with each other because they're the one that wants to get the main character.
Like I know Don Mancini, who makes Chucky, has been saying for years he would love nothing more than Chucky versus Freddy, because he says them two together would be just comedy gold.
I think they'd be like BFFs. I think it's like why are we fighting? Like this is like we're on a par here.
It's like Chucky ends up on Elm Street in some kid's room, starts killing people. Obviously, people instantly think it's Freddy's back, and Chucky obviously is very much like, hey, they're my kills. What are you talking about? Who's Freddy? And then he said something stupid like, "Of course, Chucky dreams. Why wouldn't he dream? He's still a human soul in a toy." He says he has a little nap every now and again, and he bumps into Freddy in the dream world. It's like that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
That'd be very cool.
Chucky asleep.
That'd be very cool.
But anyway, that's my number 2.
I still think, and like just because you brought up Freddy, when we were talking about horror icons in a previous episode, Freddy Krueger tops it all for me now. It's a question that I've been constantly thinking about since we discussed it. But Freddy Krueger tops every single list because he was a character that made you scared of being asleep.
Yeah.
But none of the others did that. It was kind of like, as long as you can outrun them or stay out of their way or not be in the area that they're in, you're okay, you're good. But Freddy literally got you when you had a rest. And that's why he topped the list for me. So yeah.
You need to watch this one, which is the story of Robert Englund, Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares. Because Robert Englund's more or less officially retired at this point. They made this movie about his career. Brilliant. And people have nothing but nice things to say about the guy.
Oh, I know. All I've ever heard is how lovely he is. Like how nice he is, how professional he is, all that kind of stuff. And it's just really contradicting when you think of the character that you brought to life. Yeah. So.
They were saying there's a whole story in there, which I thought was amazing, where he said that he once had a dream in the 90s of Freddy. He said he started dreaming about Freddy. And he says, it's weird because I am Freddy. He says, but Freddy was like a thing in his dreams for years.
That's
like
weird, isn't it?
So he had nightmares about his own creation.
That is weird. I would really love to see them I don't want to say reinvent, but kind of ignite the flame underneath Freddy Krueger. That's ironic, isn't it? Excuse the pun.
But I've said for years, while Robert Englund's still alive, they need to make a movie where they have the nod to the old Freddy. And because he's in the dream world, why can't he change his appearance? Like he could even dust off his hat and just go, I need a change of digs. And just sort of, and suddenly change into the new actor playing Freddy. And they could literally have Robert Englund like more or less hand the glove over.
Yeah.
I think that would be more accepting from the fans than them trying to recreate him without Robert Englund involved.
Yeah. I just think that for the concept of a character that literally kills you in your sleep is more terrifying than anything that we've put out in the last however many years.
Yeah. And with them putting out a new the new Halloween franchise that's coming out, obviously we're going to get a new Jason sort of universe. Freddy needs to have an involvement in there, so we can't just let Freddy go to the Waylines and die.
No, Freddy Krueger will be around for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, my number 2. Probably no surprise here, but it's Labyrinth.
Ooh.
Yeah, Labyrinth. Not so much David Bowie and all that kind of stuff, but I just think that it's such a cool world that's created. Like the Goblin King's kind of world is so cool, and it's that Jim Henson's kind of all the really odd characters, and during the film we meet so many weird characters and concepts that there's just so much of that world to explore. I'd quite like to see somebody else be in that world, and we could even have it wouldn't necessarily have to be another Goblin King. Like, the Goblin King could be left with David Bowie. He was the Goblin King, but there could be somebody else that's taken over in his absence or made the place darker or something like that. And we could essentially have the same sort of storyline of somebody going into that world to do something to come out of it. But it's just the Jim Henson kind of mind of these characters and worlds and stuff. I would love to see something else in that universe.
100%.
Jenko T said if they did a modern day Labyrinth, they'd get someone like Harry Styles to play Jareth. You know what, actually, I wouldn't be surprised. And I think Harry Styles would love to think that he is David Bowie. Does that make sense? Like there's a lot of similarities there that you can see that he kind of takes from David Bowie. But yeah, I just wouldn't want him to touch the Goblin King. I just wouldn't want him to touch it. I just leave it as it is. Don't try to reinvent the character.
Do you not think?
Go on.
I would say, do you not think a prequel about how the Goblin King got there would be quite sad? I imagine that, you got to think in the story, he takes someone's little brother because they said they didn't want him anymore and gives them so many hours to come and get the kid back. What if his sister or brother never made it in time and that's why he's there? Yeah. He was stolen and he becomes the Goblin King because he's a lost child, like a lost boy almost. Oh, that could be such a dark, sad story to tell.
It would be. That
magical world.
Northern Nomad in the chat said, no way could Harry Styles be David Bowie. Nope, I completely agree. Shelley's also said Labyrinth is one of my all-time favorite movies. A sequel would have been awesome. I think you've hit the nail on the head, though. I think a sequel in the form of a prequel that gives us the explanation to why the Goblin King is there or how he became the Goblin King. And like you said, I think somebody not completing the task, there not being a happy ending at the end of it, and that person therefore kind of grows up with the goblins and becomes the Goblin King. That'd be quite sad. But or a Return to Oz style sequel, that where it's not all as sunshine and rainbows as it was in that original film, and therefore we're back in that world, but it's not anywhere near as good. So there we go. Janko just said, I agree, but as Jacob says, Styles fancies himself as the modern Bowie. Yeah, I think it is. I like Harry Styles. I give God credit. He's doing him. Can't even be mad. Go on then. Your number one on your list.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Of course it was. Yeah, I agree.
The fact that Who Framed Roger Rabbit is based on a book, it wasn't Disney's invention. They didn't make it up. They don't even own the rights to it. It's now reverted back to the original writer. Disney don't no longer even own the rights to Roger Rabbit. So I would love to see them to make a sequel based on obviously the Disney version, obviously. But there was like 3 books. There were 3 books in total of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I'm trying to find because I need to put in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's why. I'm going to get the names of the books for you because there was a whole book I think based on Jessica as well. Yeah, because the book was called Who Censored Roger Rabbit, and there was a bunch of sequels for these ones.
Oh right.
But yeah, it was I love that film so much. But how cool would it be with like modern day technology to go visit it again?
Mm. I
So
just
the
think
book
it was
we
done
had,
so well at the time it was done as well.
yeah. So we had who censored Roger Rabbit was the first book, and then we had who plugged Roger Rabbit as the second one. There was also a bunch of comics made about Toontown based on the original story as well. And there was even Who Whacked Roger Rabbit, which was actually written in 2013. So not even that long ago, a third sequel.
Wow.
So the guy is still actively writing these books. And there's a new book coming out called Jessica Rabbit, which is the story of Jessica Rabbit.
I just think that the characters in it, especially Jessica Rabbit, are so iconic and so recognized that the fact that we didn't get a sequel, isn't that Bob Hoskins as well?
Bob Hoskins, yeah.
Isn't it?
And Christopher Lloyd.
Of course it is. Yeah, he's the bad guy, isn't he?
He's unrecognizable in that role, but because he's so good at it. But I mean, yeah, it's Christopher Lloyd.
Isn't he actually a toon as well?
Yeah.
He is,
Bring
isn't
on
he?
the
Yeah.
dip.
The dip. That again, that scene with the shoe.
Yeah, it melts the shoe down.
Scarring, like literally just destroys his character in front of you.
I love the gun that is a crooner singer. Is it a sword or a gun? I can't remember. He like spins around. He's got some weapon in his hand, and he just starts singing.
Yeah. I think that it's again because similar to what I said about Labyrinth, there's such a huge universe there that we only scratch the surface on, and you could do even just a Toontown sequel, you know. But yeah,
I love how about 10 years ago, Disney would churn out the Jessica Rabbit merchandise in the parks. You could get statues, you could get artwork of Jessica Rabbit. There was people that was making like pin-up style Jessica Rabbits, like artwork at Downtown Disney that you could buy. And now literally Disney do not talk about Jessica Rabbit. It's like they just pushed her under the carpet and went, yep, she no longer exists.
Yeah. It was like she was she was a little bit too risque for them after a while.
As soon as the whole Me Too and everything came out and we started getting a bit touchy, like she went under the rug instantly. Like, nope, you don't exist anymore, Jessica.
Jessica who? Like what? Yeah, no, I agree. Before I tell you my number one, Jenga T said something quite interesting there. Basically said, I feel that Space Jam 2 basically stole a lot of ideas for a Roger Rabbit sequel with having the different animated worlds and such. Space Jam 2 when they use every Warner Brother property. Yeah, I agree. I think that the flop of Space Jam 2 has probably made a lot of studios kind of weary of the animation real kind of crossover. Because it didn't do particularly well, did it? Wasn't a well received sequel.
Did terrible.
Yeah, it was awful. Let's be honest. Okay, my number one goes without saying. Talk about it all the time. But I would love to see a sequel or a third part in the trilogy of Guyver.
Guyver.
It would have to be Guyver, just because it was. And again, if there's people watching that still haven't watched this film, go and watch this film. It is just adult Power Rangers, but it was just so cool. It was so cool as a kid watching it, and I just think they could do so much with it nowadays. That, especially because the concept of it, like there's all the different Guyvers. There's like the Guyver 1, Guyver 2, Guyver 3. There's it goes all the way through. There's so many. The way that it works, these little alien things, it goes in your head. We've got this spacesuit, but they could easily just pick it up and they could do it as another character. Like they wouldn't have to follow the storyline of the first one or anything. They could literally just pick up the bio boosted armor and run with it. And I'm so disappointed that there isn't talk of something in the works. It will happen. It will happen at some point. But yeah, so my number one is Guyver.
Guyver was based on an anime as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like Japanese anime as well.
Manga, yeah.
So with everything going on with with Netflix and how they're really getting into anime now. I'm surprised that might come back around again, Guyver.
Yeah, if that's how I discovered it. It was just when I first started reading manga comics, and it was all the kind of standard ones like Akira and stuff that people were reading, and my friends were going, "Oh, have you read this? Have you read that?" And I randomly picked up a Guyver comic book. Where was it? HMV or someone, or R Price Music or whatever it was. I can't remember where I got it from, but there was a guy. I might have even got it from the boot sale, but there was a Guyver comic book. It was like a 2 or 4 or whatever, and I was like, this just looks really cool. And then from there, I got the videos and saw the films and that kind of stuff. But Guyver Dark Hero for me was like the pinnacle, and I was like, this needs a sequel. This film needs a sequel. I wouldn't even be mad if it was a Netflix series sequel, but yeah, Guyver tops my list as it always does.
I didn't even see that coming until you said the second of the thing. It needs to be a trilogy. I'm like, oh, it's gonna say Guyver. It's gonna say Guyver.
Yeah. Especially because the first two as well, they're very loosely connected. Like it's not, they're not like a part 1 and part 2. They don't follow on in that respect. Well, they do, but they don't. Like the first one's got Mark Hamill in it. Like it just, but yeah, it's that for me, the Guyver Dark Hero, without a doubt, would be my number 1.
Got the second film. It's David Hayter.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh wow.
The second film is fantastic, mate. It really is. The annoying thing is as well is that 1994 it came out, but if you Google it now, it gives so many like so many things away. Like it just gives so much away in regards to what kind of happens and stuff. But yeah, he's what's his name? Solid Snake, isn't he?
Yeah. Solid Snake, and he's been in Watchmen, and he's been in so many movies.
Yeah. X-Men.
So, X-Men, yeah, he was in X-Men.
Yeah. Who was he in X-Men?
Oh, let's have a look at the casting right quick. Why not?
Hang on a sec. I'm having a look. Oh, he's just a museum cop. Oh, okay. I was like, I'm sure he's not like a main character. He's in X-Men 2 as well. Surely he's not like bringing back the museum cop again. Surely not. Hang on. I can't even see him on the cast list. He's got it listed. Yeah. Oh, I can't see him. He's got it listed as his on his thing. But yeah, but it's a good film, and he's very cool in it as well. He is very cool in it. Yeah. So there we go. Guyver. Wow. Guyver and Roger Rabbit top our lists.
Oh dear me.
Anyone that's watching, obviously whether you're watching now or whether you're watching in repeat, is there anything that we missed? Is there any film that you think should have made our list that didn't make our list? Is there anything that you massively disagree with us? Is there any things that we're just completely barking up the wrong tree with? While we're on the subject of sequels, though, and this will be kind of like my final thoughts of the sequels kind of chat. Did you know that Seven was meant to get a sequel?
Really?
Yeah, it was meant to get a sequel. What?
What's in the box?
It was honestly, there was meant to be a sequel based on. Do you know what it was called?
Nope.
Do you know what they were going to call it?
8.
Yep. They were going to call it 8. But it was basically Morgan Freeman's character was going to have what is it like? What's the word? Like not psychotic. What's the word? When you can like paranormal kind of powers, basically. But what they did is they took it and they basically as soon as there was talk of like paranormal and all that kind of stuff, everyone kind of dropped off of it, and obviously Morgan Freeman got off of it and stuff. But the film Solace with Anthony Hopkins, that's essentially what the sequel to 7 was going to be. So they basically kind of rewrote the script and made Solace. So the unofficial sequel to 7 is Solace, because that would have been Morgan Freeman's character, and it would have been called 8. But
I know a lot of people always say that the sequels are rubbish and we shouldn't have sequels, but without sequels we wouldn't have had great films like The Godfather Part 2, all the Indiana Jones movies, all the Star Wars sequels. So I mean, there is Aliens. There is a place for sequels. Some of them are terrible, some of them are good.
I think that you'll always get a bad sequel. You'll always get a bad sequel, but then, like you say, you'll get some really amazing sequels that are better than the first. Like Terminator 2, prime example. But when you've got a property that is so popular or doing so well, and a movie studio wants to plug more money in kind of widening that story, then I would always happily take that risk and go kind of show us what you got. Like, prime example with Beetlejuice coming up. Beetlejuice, 35 years old film, 38 years old or something like that. It's running a risk. They're touching a classic now, but I'm all here for it. I'm all here for it.
Can't wait.
There we go. So what are we thinking next week? We haven't got a theme for next week yet, have we?
We don't.
No, we'll announce it. We'll drop some information about what next week's going to be during the week. So keep your eye on our channels, on various different social media platforms and stuff. But as soon as we've got a theme for it, we will drop it. If you've got a idea for a theme that you want us to discuss, then again, just let us know. Either drop us a message on Instagram or YouTube or whatnot, or drop it in the chat, drop it in the comments of these videos, because obviously we're always up for listening to what you guys think would be something worth talking about. There we go. Anything to keep their eyes open for you this week, Sorrell?
I honestly don't know. My world's gone quiet at the minute. I'm just ticking away nicely at the minute. I can't lie. I'm enjoying not having anything big purchase wise coming my way. I'm just enjoying just ticking over nicely.
Yeah, nice.
Enjoying the I mean, for the first time in a while, I'm enjoying the figures that I already own. Let's put it that way. You're always looking for the next thing. I'm kind of enjoying what I've got on the shelf at the minute.
That's really cool. That is good to know. We will kind of make an unofficial announcement now that it looks like we are going to be at the Love of Horror in October.
Yeah.
Which is quite cool. So if anyone is around, anyone's looking at going, it's a 2-day convention at Trafford Centre. Looks like we'll both be there. So if you are in the area, by all means, kind of start thinking about coming along and saying hello.
There's going to be a bunch of people there. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
It is going to be good fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Cool. All right then. Well, anyone that's been watching, that's joining in, do appreciate all your comments. We tried to get to as many of them as we could during the show. But this was episode 154, top 10 movies that don't have a sequel that you wish that they did. Of course, check out all our social medias and all that kind of stuff. Anything you want to drop in before we leave?
No.
No, I'm good. We will announce what we're doing next week over the next few days, unless someone comes up with an absolutely blinding idea. If you're watching us on repeat, what is it they need to put in the chat, Sorrell?
#CatchUpCrew.
#CatchUpCrew. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Till then,
keep it geek. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and of course subscribe. Tune in next week for another live show. Until then, keep it geek. www.geekweekinreview.co.uk